What did I just watch? Oh, man, I could not breathe that last 5 minutes. My breath is gone. My voice is gone. Everything's gone. But the Leafs win 4-3. Guys, I'm back for a hot take hockey video. Oh, my breath is gone. My voice is gone. But, like, honestly, this game was insane. The Leafs took so many penalties, some stupid penalties, some stupid calls from the refs. But man, 4-3 on top. They were up 4-1, and like as a Leafs fan, you can just only imagine what I was going through, just thinking about, are they going to blow another 4-1 lead to Boston? Obviously not of a significant game overall, it being a game 5 rather than a game 7. But for this, it was a do or die game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They come out on top to force a game 6 to go back to Toronto. Thank you guys for joining me. Please put comments in the live chat. If you're watching this after, just put comments afterwards. But holy, I'm going to go through the summary, but like, man, I have so many levels of emotion right now. But anyways, so the Leafs, obviously, if you know the Toronto Maple Leafs quite well, if they score first, it looks pretty good to come out with a win. If they allow the first goal, it looks like it ends up being a struggle for the rest of the game. But 6 minutes in, Austin Matthews looks like he's heating up. He makes that whole play happen. Zach Hyman over to Austin Matthews, around the defender, around the net, attempts the wrap around. The puck flutters in the air, and Connor Brown with the hand-eye coordination to put the Toronto Maple Leafs up 1-0. Obviously, that was a huge goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Mike Babcock obviously coming in. I didn't even mention it yet with all the line changes, guys. I mean, Nazem Kadri back. So I think that was huge, having Nazem Kadri back, filling that void, and then having Austin Matthews in between Hyman and Connor Brown, rather with Nylander than with Kadri and Johnson. So, I mean, Johnson, sorry, but that was insane, that just play by Austin Matthews, and then sets up Connor Brown's little tap in the midair there. So that put the Leafs up 1-0. And then Andreas Johnson's goal. So I'm going to talk about my 3 stars after, but Nazem Kadri was huge in this game, just offensively, defensively. He was putting a lot of pressure on the Bruins. So this goal, just really, really calm from Nazem Kadri. This shows a little bit of his veteran presence, he goes across the blue line, just enters the zone, waits for the defenders, splits it with a saucer pass right on Andreas Johnson's stick. He goes to the backhand, puts it right over Tuukka Rask's pad for a 2-0 lead. That was obviously huge. Like, 1-0 leads for the Leafs can evaporate pretty quickly. 2-0 going into the second period was obviously quite huge. But we've seen it the last 2 games. The Leafs definitely decreased on penalties compared to game 1 and 2. This game, back to 6 penalties in this game. I didn't like that whatsoever. Obviously, I can say probably the first 3 or 4 penalties I did not agree with. But for example, that Travis Dermott penalty was just unnecessary. And I love Travis Dermott, but that was just a dumb penalty to take in the third period. The Leafs luckily avoided that, avoided what could have been a third goal, which ended up happening anyways. But anyways, David Backes scores on the power play. Jake Gardiner, before the power play, like a stupid pinch, like we've already seen it the last couple of games. 2-on-1 against Nikita Zaitsev. Zaitsev trips, I think it was Pasternak, and then so obviously they go to the power play, and then DeBrusk kind of shoots it off the glass, and then 2 goals kind of happened like this in this game, but Davis Backes kind of catches Freddie Anderson not really looking there, and then puts it in the back of the net. So that was a 2-1 lead for the Leafs. And then the Leafs, less than a minute later, I believe it could have been just over a minute, but what a response from the Leafs. Bozak with a great breakout after Captain's little battle there. Feeds it off to JVR. JVR back to Morgan Riley, just inside of the blue line. He feeds it right on Tyler Bozak's stick for the goal over the left pad under the glove of Tuukka Rask for a 3-1 lead for the Leafs. That was the response you need in a game that is in TD Gardens in Boston. David Backes scores on the power play. Momentum can change like this. We've seen it lots of times in Boston before. So that response was absolutely big. And then This goal, again, Jake Gardiner. Again, Jake Gardiner. Both goals, in my opinion, in the second period were Jake Gardiner's fault. The first one, obviously, was on the power play, and that was kind of after the fact of what he did. But this was just straight, so obvious. You cannot argue that this is Gardiner's fault. Puck watching, he peels off his man. Sean Corelli gets a perfect pass from the underrated, the guy I called Matt Grzelcyk. I think he's pretty underrated in this series. But Matt Grzelcyk feeds it right to Sean Corelli. Pass Freddie Anderson, Jake Gardiner. No one to cover. He's just sitting there. You can't be sitting in the middle of the ice, basically in front of your net, and do nothing. Just a bad defensive breakdown from Jake Gardiner. So that was a 3-2 game at that point. Obviously getting a little nervous. Sorry, I just passed by JVR's goal. Sorry, I literally was just focusing on Jake Gardiner. But before that, it was JVR's goal. If you guys didn't see it, it was like a typical JVR goal in the top of the crease for a little top cheese action. JVR does this quite often. So sorry, that was a 3-2, 3-1, and then 4-1, and then 4-2. So going into the third period, it was 4-2, and the Leafs were on the penalty kill at the start of the third period. And then basically that whole third period, it was all Boston. We kind of said in the Hot Take Hockey chat, if not for Freddie Anderson, and it's kind of obvious. When a team's down, it's common sense. When a team's down, you're obviously going to push more, get more shots. It just comes down to that. The Leafs were already having a decrease on shots by the mid-second period because of all the penalties. Austin Matthews was in the groove in the first period, didn't get the ice time in the second. I feel like Nazem Kadri probably got, if not more ice time, I was going to check it out. But I would say ice time was pretty even tonight. Like, I looked down the board, Connor Brown was 17:44, Zach Hyman with 18:28. Those two led it in ice times for the forwards. Austin Matthews with 15 and change. I'm not sure how much that was. But anyways, that third period goal from Noel Acciari, again, like the David Backes goal, Schaller with the shot, fooled Freddie Anderson off the back of the net, and Acciari just puts it into an empty net, basically. So two goals that I felt like were pretty crap from the Bruins, but if you look at it on a different side, the Bruins could have scored on so many other opportunities where Freddie Anderson bailed the Leafs out. So that's basically my summary, well, the goals that were scored. I'm going to go over my 3 stars. I could honestly say I could list 3 stars from each team and then maybe narrow that down. But obviously from the Leafs, to start it off, the winning team, the first star is, it's not even a question, it's Freddie Anderson. You look at that second half of the game, he kept him in it. Second star, Nazem Kadri returns from the 3-game suspension. Big assist to give that 2-0 lead. And then I just think he's laying guys out in his own zone. He's playing that defensive game. He was winning a lot of battles. You know, a guy that was part of that 2013 collapsed team. He knows how it feels. He showed his experience towards the end of the game. And having guys like Hainsey and Polak out there were driving me nuts and just amounting to my stress. So having guys like Kadri and just kind of a couple of veterans out there, and then having Austin Matthews, who I felt like definitely grew in this game, but didn't play enough. I definitely want Austin Matthews to play closer to 20 minutes because you see him even later in the game and he still has that energy. The guy's only 20 years old. He can play that amount. But my third star, I would have to look at a couple players. I think Mitch Marner played really well again tonight for the Leafs. I also want to give credit to Andreas Johnsson, of course. And then, you know what? I have to – people have been hating on him lately, but I have to give Bozak. You know what? He scored a big goal. He got an assist on JVR's goal. I have to give a little credit to Bozak. Maybe not one of my 3 stars of the Leafs, but I have to give him some credit. He won a key face-off there at the end. He's been getting a lot of hate in the series, even from me at sometimes. So I'm going to give credit to Bozak. And the Bruins, 3 stars. The big line for me after the number 1 line, obviously the number 1 line's always there, was the Acciari, Schaller, and Acciari, Schaller, and Corelli line. That line was actually applying a lot of pressure. The Leafs were putting their weaker line defensively of the JVR line out there. So I think, considering they were part of the 2 out of 3 goals for that for the Bruins team, I would say I would give it to Acciari, to Corelli, and then I want to give a shout again to Grzelcyk. I think he's pretty underrated throughout the series, and then I have to keep giving credit to guys like Marchand Bergeron and Pasternak. Pasternak was a little slow tonight. Not slow in terms of speed, but just in terms of execution. He had a couple times where he got it right to his stick, wouldn't finish. So, but that line was still quite dangerous. You can't give anything short of that line. So I'll get to comments, guys. Of course, I didn't expect it being an 8 o'clock game for your Leafers. Not too many people joining, but shout out to James, MCK, obviously Austin's in here, Viv Nation, Andrew Cleary. Just answer a few questions here before I get going. Can't have their fourth line dominate against this series. If you're talking about the Bruins, I would obviously agree. They were, if not the best line tonight, I think you could say at least the second best. They were pretty good. And then, honestly, Anderson's the man, Austin says. James having some hate, but I know he's pretty happy with the Leafs win. But I have to say, we're going back to Toronto, and I think for sure that anyone that said that the Leafs shouldn't even be in this series, I think you need to watch the last 3 games. The first game was obviously a hiccup for the Leafs, and then the second game just got out of hand with that stupid first period, 4 goals on whatever, 6 shots, 7 shots, whatever it was. So I think look out for the Leafs in Game 6. I'm obviously really happy, but at the same time, I want to stay a little bit level-headed. That's why I didn't even go to Maple Leaf Square tonight. I feel like it's maybe a little superstition for me, but the Leafs, big win, 4-3. I'm happy, but let's stay calm, Leaf fans. We're still down in the series 3-2. And for the Bruins, obviously maybe a little bit as Bruins fans, maybe you feel like it's a little bit of a step back from what you've been doing. But if you look at the shots, and I'll still say the shots definitely didn't represent the game, obviously with the penalty kills and such. But the Bruins fans, don't be worried, but be worried at the same time because my Leafs are coming. I'm just going to be a Leafs fan for the last bit here. But go Leafs go. 4-3 is your final score. We're going back to Toronto with a down 3-2 in the series. So check out all our recaps. We're going to keep doing stuff throughout the playoffs. And obviously Austin couldn't do his recap for the Lightning today, but they finished the series 4-1. So that was the first team to come out of the Eastern Conference. We'll see who's next. And thank you guys for joining me. Please like the videos, comment all the time. We want to hear your opinions. And obviously subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot for this channel. So keep going. And last shout out to Supreme Hockey, who just joined. So thank you guys. And obviously, go Leafs go. All right, guys. Peace out.